Why do all empires start printing money right before they collapse? And could history be repeating itself, this time with the US dollar? Today we're diving into why superpowers keep making the same mistake over and over again. From ancient Rome to modern America, the script barely changes. And if you think this is just a coincidence, stay till the end. Imagine living in a great empire at its peak. Life feels stable, maybe even prosperous. The military is powerful, the economy seems unstoppable, the government appears strong and organized. People believe their currency is safe, that it will always buy the same amount of food, shelter, and security. Then, slowly, almost invisibly, cracks begin to form. Prices rise a little. The government spends a little more. The debt grows. To cover it, they create more money. It seems harmless at first. After all, who's going to notice a few more coins or dollars in circulation? But what begins as a small fix eventually turns into the poison that kills the system from within. Let's start at the beginning, with Rome. At its height, the Roman Empire was the center of the known world. It had legions across continents, grand cities, vast trade networks. But greatness has a cost. The army needed to be fed, soldiers paid, infrastructure maintained, borders defended. Over time, the expenses outgrew the empire's ability to pay. Taxes alone weren't enough, so the emperors found a shortcut. They diluted the silver in their coins. At first, nobody cared. A denarius still looked like a denarius, but slowly, people realized the coins had less silver, less real value. Prices rose, merchants demanded more, and trust began to crumble. The emperors printed more coins to keep up with inflation, which only made things worse. By the time of Emperor Diocletian, inflation was spiraling out of control. The government tried price controls, even made it illegal to raise prices, but it didn't matter. Farmers stopped bringing food to cities, trade collapsed, and the once mighty Roman economy became a shadow of itself. The empire didn't fall in a single night. It decayed for centuries, rotting from within as its money lost meaning. The lesson was clear even back then. When a government can't produce enough real value, it prints money. And when it prints money, it destroys trust, the very foundation of any empire. Fast forward 1,000 years, and we see the same pattern, this time with Spain. After conquering vast parts of the Americas, Spain was flooded with silver and gold, literally mountains of it. It sounds like a dream, infinite wealth pouring in from across the ocean. But it turned out to be a curse. Because when money is easy, productivity dies. Instead of building factories, Spain imported goods. Instead of investing in people, it spent recklessly on wars, palaces, and luxuries. For a while, the flood of silver made Spain feel invincible. But the rest of Europe wasn't sleeping. Other countries learned to produce, trade, and innovate. Spain just printed more money. The value of silver dropped, inflation soared, and Spain, once the richest empire in the world, sank under the weight of its own spending. Easy money had destroyed hard work. Again, the same story. Printing money doesn't fix problems, it hides them. And the longer you hide them, the worse they get. Now, jump forward again, to Britain in the 20th century. The British Empire once ruled a quarter of the planet. Its navy dominated the seas, its trade networks stretched across the globe, and the pound sterling was the world's most trusted currency. But 2 world wars changed everything. The cost of war, the cost of rebuilding, the cost of maintaining influence. It all added up. Britain's debts exploded, its economy weakened, and its colonies began demanding independence. To stay afloat, Britain did what empires always do in decline. It abandoned the gold standard. That decision made it easier to print money, but harder to maintain confidence. The pound slowly lost its strength, and by the mid-20th century, the US dollar had replaced it as the global currency. The empire that once ruled the world had become just another debtor nation, and now it's America's turn to play the lead role in this recurring drama. After World War II, the United States emerged as the world's undisputed superpower. It had half the world's industrial capacity, the strongest military, and the only currency tied to gold, the dollar. Under the Bretton Woods system, every other major currency was linked to the dollar, and the dollar was linked to gold at $35 an ounce. It was a simple promise. The dollar is as good as gold. People believed it, nations trusted it, the system worked. But over time, the US began spending more than it earned. wars in Korea and Vietnam, massive social programs, subsidies, and foreign aid. Dollars flowed out of America faster than gold could back them. By the late 1960s, other countries started to doubt whether the U.S. could keep its promise. So they began exchanging their dollars for gold, and America's gold reserves started disappearing. In 1971, President Richard Nixon made a historic announcement: the U.S. would no longer convert dollars into gold. It was supposed to be temporary. It never was. The world had just entered a new era. Money backed not by gold but by government trust. At first, it seemed fine. The dollar stayed strong. America kept growing. But something fundamental had changed. For the first time in history, the world's reserve currency could be printed without limit, and the U.S. printed. In the decades that followed, every major crisis, from the dot-com crash to the financial meltdown of 2008 to the pandemic in 2020, was met with the same solution: more money. Lower interest rates, bigger bailouts, new stimulus packages. It worked short-term, sure. But each time the debt got bigger, the gap between the rich and the poor grew wider, and the real economy, the one that makes things, builds things, and employs people, became weaker. Today, America's national debt is over $30 trillion. That's more than the entire GDP of the United States, and every year the government spends more than it takes in. How does it cover the difference? The same way empires always have, by creating more money. Now, some will say, but the dollar's different. It's the global reserve currency. The world needs dollars. That's true, for now. But remember, people once said the same about the Roman denarius, the Spanish real, and the British pound. Every empire believes its currency is special, until it isn't. So what happens when the world starts to lose faith in the dollar? We're already seeing hints of it. China is promoting trade in yuan. The BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, are discussing a shared currency. Countries are buying record amounts of gold. Even corporations and individuals are turning to alternatives like Bitcoin, not necessarily because they love crypto, but because they don't fully trust fiat money anymore. None of this means the dollar will vanish tomorrow, but it does mean the trust that once made it untouchable is beginning to erode. And once trust erodes, no amount of money printing can bring it back. So why do governments keep doing it? Why repeat the same mistake? Because printing money feels like the easiest fix. It buys time. It postpones pain. Politicians love it because it lets them spend without raising taxes. Central banks love it because it keeps markets calm. Voters love it because it keeps things feeling normal. Until one day, it's not. Inflation is the symptom, not the disease. The real disease is the addiction to easy money. Every empire has it. Rome had it. Spain had it. Britain had it. And now the U.S. has it too. But here's the silver lining. History doesn't have to repeat itself exactly. Empires fall, but societies evolve. The fall of Rome gave rise to Europe. The end of the British Empire paved the way for the modern world. The decline of the dollar doesn't have to mean chaos. It could mean transformation. A new system built on different rules, maybe more digital, maybe more decentralized. The key is understanding what's really happening and preparing for it. That doesn't mean fear. It means awareness. Because when trust shifts, opportunities shift too. So what can you do? Start by seeing money for what it really is, not wealth, but a claim on value. Paper and numbers backed by belief. Learn how it works. Diversify what you depend on. Build skills, assets, and knowledge that don't lose value when governments make bad decisions. Empires rise and fall. Currencies come and go. But people who understand the game always find a way to adapt. And maybe that's the biggest takeaway here. Money is only as strong as the trust behind it. When that trust fades, the printing press can't save you. It can only delay the inevitable. So ask yourself, are we repeating the past or learning from it? Is the dollar the next empire's currency to crumble or the first to reinvent itself before it's too late? If you found this story thought-provoking, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who still believes that printing money has no consequences. Because understanding this cycle, how it begins, how it ends, might be the most important financial lesson of our lifetime. And as always, stay curious, stay informed, and never stop asking the question, what happens when trust runs out?